Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We're really excited to kick off this new series where we will be giving you every other Thursday, so twice a month, training on all the cool new Limelight product features that we have because we want you to get the most out of the Limelight platform. So as you can see today, I'm joined by our product owners and subject matter experts, starting with Chad, wave to everyone. He's our director of analytics, and he's going to be covering all the cool new analytics features that we have. Then we have Greg. Hi, Greg. He's our subscription billing subject matter expert. He's going to be going through some of the new overall platform features that we have. And finally, we have Logan, who is our system integrations expert. He's going to be going through all the new partnerships and integrations that we have with the Limelight platform. So before I hand it over to Chad, I just want to go through some housekeeping items really quick with you guys. There is a Q&A chat button at the bottom of your screen. So please, at any time throughout this webinar, feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like. I will be monitoring them and making sure that we answer all of your questions. And I will be posing them live so everybody can hear the answer. So there's the questions. We know who's talking, what we're covering. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chad, who's going to walk us through analytics.
Right. Well, thanks, Val. I have 3 topics I want to cover in about I'll take about 10, 15 minutes, but it'll be quick. The main point I want to get across is that you can use analytics to really be a valuable part of your daily routine. And just I want to cover the defining principle of analytics. From the start, when we launched it a year ago, our purpose was to provide these topic-centric business intelligence dashboards that answer specific questions. Questions like, how's my business doing this month versus last month, or maybe the same month last year? How does my business compare? Or maybe it's something like, are there opportunities in optimizing bins or gateways that I'm not currently taking advantage of? The most common question I get are, which traffic sources are generating more profitable customers than others? So I will, I'll get into a demo here in a minute. I'm going to go over a couple of newly revised dashboards, but I want to talk about a couple things first. We enhanced, and I've received positive feedback from many of you about our speed improvements that we've made recently. So we've gone through 2 versions of really speed enhancements. So each one of our dashboards loads fairly quickly, and we'll continue to work on that. The other idea that we've implemented is this idea of our clients should be able to walk away from a dashboard after reading it for 30 seconds and really have some kind of actionable piece of information they're going to use to better their business. So with that, I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to demo a couple of these items. So what you see on my screen here is the newly revised fulfillment dashboard. Actually, I'm going to start with the traffic source dashboard. So this dashboard, it's been around for a while. It was called the affiliates dashboard previously. You can see that there's early indicators and late indicators, just like the previous dashboard, but they're more upfront and in your face, so it's very obvious what you need to look at. When I look at this dashboard, the things that I'm looking at within 30 seconds, I'm looking at this fraud score. I'm looking for something. If my average fraud score is, let's say it's 0.5, I'm looking for something around that. So if my fraud score is at a 0.4, I'm moving on very quickly. If it's not, then I'm going to start asking some more questions, and I might drill on one of these links here. And then I'm going to look immediately at my in-trial cancellation rate. In my head, I've got an idea of 20.1%. I know that that's what I need to in-trial cancel at in order to make money. So right off the bat, I know looking at this dashboard that I'm doing pretty good. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go right down to this cancellation by day and look at day zero cancellations. And I want to see that my day zero cancellations are about 2.1%. The day zero cancellation means that they bought from you and on the same day they've canceled. So it's a pretty good indicator of fraud. Now I look at this example right here, this AFID 213312, they've got a 3.5% day zero cancellation. So again, I'm going to act on that. My action might be, I'm going to call my my traffic partner and say, hey, I see a spike in your day zero cancellations. What, can you explain it? And when you start asking questions like that, it's amazing how smoother things will go. You won't see problems from these from your traffic sources as often as you would if you just let it ride. The last piece here is the late quality indicators, and I don't look at that a ton, and I don't advise folks to look at it a ton, but it is important if you've got some established affiliates or traffic sources that you need to monitor. You want to know what your rebill rates are, your chargeback rates are, your refunded revenue percentage. This is a great place to look. And I have a problem here. I can see that, like, again, in my head, I've got about a 60%, 65% rebill target, and I'm well below that. So I'm going to take action here. And when action might be that I would drill, for example, you can drill on that and you can start to figure out what is making up that single measure. I'm not going to wait for it to load, because while the initial dashboards are pretty responsive, when you drill, it's creating a query that goes to the database, and it can take a bit of time. Usually those drills will take about 30 seconds. So you can see that just by looking at this, if you wanted to, after the 30 seconds, you wanted to see a little bit more, there's a lot more you can look at with this particular dashboard. So now I'm going to move on to the second dashboard that came out last week that we've revised, and that's the fulfillment dashboard. Now, if you look at this guy, I'm looking at the sales demo. So the data doesn't look real good. So what I did before the webinar started, I took a screenshot of a real client, and I'm going to use this data here to assess what's going on. So when I'm looking at this, the first thing I'm actually going to look at is I'm going to look at the percent shipped by day, and I'm going to see what percentage of my shipments have gone out the door. And you can see here, this looks like a problem to me. It's not my business, so I don't know exactly what's going on here, and there's probably some logical explanation to this, but you want to ask questions of your team to whether that's an in-source fulfillment house that you have internally, or if it's your outsourced fulfillment center. You're going to want to ask some questions about this percent shipped by day.
Yeah, so Chad, we actually have a question. Tony was wondering, what actions should he take if he sees that his fulfillment center isn't performing well or something isn't working well? I know that, Chad, you've had experience with your own business, so what would you do?
Yeah, so for me, the fulfillment piece is a really important part for me to look at on a day-to-day basis. I actually lost a business because of I wasn't watching my fulfillment center as closely as I should. And what it turned out to be was that the pick tickets were printed, but the products weren't being shipped. So I had thousands of orders sitting there that weren't shipped, literally weren't shipped, and that's certain death in this business. So when I came to Limelight, that was one thing that I was really wanting to focus on, was to make sure we had really strong measures around fulfillment. And I think we do here. If you look at like this average days to ship, it's black and white. You're either doing good or you're doing bad. And good for some companies is different for other companies. Good might be, a 4-day ship cycle for some. For me, it was 1 day. I had to have my orders out same day, or I saw an increase in chargebacks and returns in volume to my call center. So this dashboard was something that I looked at, or I had a spreadsheet that I post having this problem that I would look at every day, and I wish I would have had it from the beginning. But all of our Limelight customers, you all have this. You can look at it every day. Very useful tool. The last thing I want to cover is
actually, Chad, before you
yeah.
go off the dashboard, we have another question, which is, can you drill in on those individual percentages and numbers to get more detail?
Yeah. So like I was saying before, is whenever you hover over a measure and you see a link, like you can see a link right here, whereas you can't see one right here. So now if I drill, I click, it's going to load the data. And again, I'm not going to stick around to wait for the data. Well, it loaded pretty quick, but sometimes those when you drill, it can take a little bit of time. But anywhere that I go, like if I go back to the traffic source, you might, if you hover over some of these, you'll see like right there, I can drill and I can look at this data a different way. Maybe I want to export it, because once you drill, you can export that data, pull it into Excel, and do some additional ad hoc analysis. Yeah, so that was pretty quick too. But hopefully that answers the question. If not, let us know and I'll cover it some more. But the last item that I wanted to cover was related to some feedback that we got pretty consistently over the year that we've been live with analytics, and that was why can't I give the same kind of credentials, or why can't I use the same kind of permissions that I use across the rest of the application, the CRM? And so recently we've modified the architecture so that you can drill in and change the credentials however you see fit. So, and I know this is all like a vague, but let me put some teeth to it. So if I go into here, I'm going to click on Logan's account here, and I'm going to look at permissions, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to look at analytics. So you can see the reports. That's always been that way. You can add or enable or disable for every report that we have, and then you come down to the dashboards. And now what I can do is if I wanted Logan to not see the profit and loss, I click that, profit and loss, click save, and I'm done. Logan no longer sees the profit and loss. The last thing that I'll cover here is, let me go back to the user accounts. So if I go to my user accounts, at the bottom, I see these templates.
Chad, really quick, so just to clarify, someone had a question. So now you can give permission per specific dashboard, not just right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you can give permission for a specific dashboard. You can give or take it away however you see fit. The templates, the purpose of these templates are when you're setting up a new user, like let's say I'm setting up Val as a new user and I want Val to be a financial user, I can use that template. So when I go in and I create Val, I'm going to say Val belongs to the financial permissions group, but then maybe I don't want Val to have the P&L. So I deselect the P&L, hit save. Now Val's got access to the reports that I wanted to have. So that's what I have to cover. And I think I'll hand it back to Val now, and we can move on.
Oh, thanks, Chad. So that was just a sneak peek into lots of the cool new analytics features that we have. And now we're going to hand it over to Greg, who's going to walk us through some of the brand new platform features.
Great, thanks, Val. So one of the newest things that we've introduced is a complete member API suite with new membership capabilities. So this is for allowing the front-end customer to log in and make changes to their order, also add additional orders, really do any action that you see fit. So walking through some of that, we've added the ability to create a new member. And what this is basically based on an email address, you can create a member off of that customer record. in which case we'll generate a temporary password, and then we also have some email notifications. So you'll basically just put that temporary password in your new member email, and you shoot it off to the customer. They now have some login credentials to visit your site. Once logged in, you can allow them to do pretty much, again, whatever you really want them to do. You can allow them to strictly just modify information on their customer record. This is maybe they have a new address they need it shipped to. Maybe they have a new credit card on file. And credit card's a big one because a lot of times the customer still wants to receive that subscription. They just didn't realize the credit card that you had on file was incorrect. So allowing them to log in and update that payment information can also help with retention rates. You can also allow them to get in and modify subscriptions. And this is, again, pick and choose the methods you want to allow them to do. If you want kind of a view only, I want to allow members to log in and see their ongoing subscriptions, see their order history, but I might not want to allow them to, cancel because I want them to call customer service to cancel. You can kind of pick and choose those methods as you see fit. So some of the new stuff we've added is the ability to skip a shipment. Previously, you have to do this all through next recurring date, so you have to set a next recurring date, sometime in the future. We now have a method that allows that customer to just say, I just don't want this product next month, but keep me on the subscription for the other recurring months. So that's a new method. Typically, you'd be leveraging a lot of the methods that existed in our membership API already, allowing the customer to refund, cancel, pause and start subscriptions, also add new products to subscriptions. Maybe you want to allow them to, create new orders or just add additional products to that ongoing subscription. So I'll take you through some of those API methods to just kind of give you a brief overview. I don't want to get too technical, but some of these new methods we've added are member create, which is, again, just allowing them to create those user credentials to log in. Member update, this is when somebody logs in with that temporary password, they'll be required to update that password on file before they can log in. So it's kind of like here's your temporary, but enter a real password for future login purposes. We have a check session method, which basically you can validate the login period of time that person is with those credentials. So our default is to expire that login after 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes of inactivity, they'll be required to update, basically re-enter their login credentials. But you can adjust that as you see fit. And then just simply some forgot reset password stuff. Nothing too complicated. Again, a lot of the methods you're using are within that membership API to take actions on those orders. So let me just briefly share with you the API documentation, just so you know where to find it and also how to use it. So if you take a look, and if you haven't yet, you really should get into our new API documentation. It's light years better than it was. We've moved all of our membership and transaction API over to this new document style. But going through some of the new member methods. So looking at this member method, I got my member create method. So the cool thing about our new API documentation, it's completely interactive. So I can click on a method and I can get a full live example of how that method plays out. So I can see how that should be submitted. I can see the required parameters that need to be submitted with that method. And I can also get a response. And this is actually a live response where you can actually run it to your production environment, try it out, and you get a live response. So this is really good for any sort of member flow handling you want on that page. So getting out of member, we'll get into the next product I want to cover, which is our new billing models and offers. This is one of the most exciting things I think we've done in a long time. Yes.
Before you move on to billing models, so I know you covered it, but I think this is a big question for people. Is so a member or a customer could potentially log in and then pause their subscription, cancel their subscription, make any sorts of changes to their subscription on their own, right?
Right, that is correct. So they can take any action that you want to allow that member to take. So it's really up to you as a business on how you want this membership site to flow out. Do you want are you a kind of a box subscription business that you want people to come in and edit their new products and tell you what they want next month and stuff like that? Or do you run in a traditional e-commerce where, you're kind of like an Amazon where you want to let people log in and view their order history, maybe, make refunds on orders, but not really do anything to the ongoing subscription. So again, it's just pick up the methods that you want to allow your member to do, but you can kind of limit or allow, a vast variety of methods. So moving on. So with our new billing models, if you are a legacy client of ours, you've obviously noticed that there's a huge difficulty in selling a single product in multiple ways. So what we've done is we've broken the billing model piece away from the single product. So now you can create a single product, which is that true inventory item, that true inventory SKU, and use multiple billing models to sell that. So I have a single product that I want to sell as a straight sale, a 30-day, a 60-day. It still only is one product. And this allows you to also configure new trial configurations. So now you can, and I'll get into a demo of exactly how it flows. So, but with the different trials, you can actually specify if there is a trial on the order, how long is the trial, and you can actually customize the price of the product for that trial. So you no longer have to duplicate products to say this is my $0 trial, but when it rebill at $39.99. That's actually one product. You can set up custom recurring products as well as custom recurring lengths and some last cycle rules. So, it'll all make sense once I get in here. So let me take you into the billing models configuration. So as you'll see here, this is located under offers and campaigns. Simply use the drop down. I should start. This is enabled for our legacy clients. You will have to call in. Right now we're in a beta phase, but if you call in and you're interested in this, we can certainly turn this on for you. And this will work if you have products configured in the traditional way where the billing model is on the product. And if you want to start some of your new campaigns running it through this billing models and offers, you can kind of run both simultaneously. So we've made the migration as painless as possible. But to take you in, once you have these features enabled, you just simply offers campaigns, go to billing models. I got a few here set up. The first one I'll get into is the every 60 days. So strictly what we've done here is just pull the billing model configuration out of the product. So it's pretty much the same thing you'll see here. You get a name for the billing model. Subscription type, we've left the same: cycle, date, day, days till next billing. In this particular one, I've set it up as a 60-day cycle, so every 2-month cycle. And I'm going to also allow my customer service a little flexibility to offer a discount on this. So max discount of 20%. Once I've set up a few billing models, I can get into my offers.
Hey, Greg, a question about billing models.
Yes.
Tony wanted to know, how about straight sale billing model?
Yes, absolutely, and that's a great question. So what we've done, when you first start using billing models, we've actually made your first billing model for you. And that one is the straight sale billing model, and its default, it is your default. So what this means is anytime that you submit an order that is missing a billing model, we won't reject that API request because we want your initial orders to keep flowing in. What we'll do is we'll just treat it as a straight sale. But what you can do, if you say, I'm a business, I never offer straight sales, everything's a subscription, you can actually go within here and you can set one of these as your default. So you'll see here that once I set one of them as my default, I could set my 30-day subscription. That means anytime you don't submit a billing model, refer to the 30-day billing model. So that's very easy to do, but great question. Again, once you've configured a few of them, you'll get into your offers. So I'm going to bring you through 2 different offer types. One of them is a self-recurring offer type. The other is a custom recurring offer. The self-recurring, you'll see that within here, you basically name this offer, you attach a few billing models to it. And this is any way you want to allow this offer to be sold. So in this particular one, 60 days, 30 days, straight sale, I'm going to allow all 3. And it's up to you on that checkout page to, allow the customer to tell you how they want it billed, or, specifically just tell us how you want it billed. When I add that trial, I can set a specific duration for that trial. That's the length of the trial. So in this case, I'll do a 30-day trial. Define custom price. Again, this will override the product price. So I'm going to do a $0 trial for 30 days. And then this delayed billing. This is a really, really cool feature if you're running a risk-free trial offer or any sort of free trial offer that you want to charge for after a specific amount of time. All you'll do here is you'll select delayed billing, and in this particular one, I'll do 14 days. So once I've set this up here and added a few products, what this means is when that trial comes in, it will come in as a $0 trial. 14 days later, it will bill for the full product price of that trial product. And then 30 days from that initial order that was placed, 30 days from when the $0 trial was placed, it will recur onto your main product that you've specified in the API request. So again, you're not defining products to the offer, you're instead saying which products are available to be sold on this offer. As you get into self-recurring, you can set an expiration. So in this particular one, I've set an expiration of 6 cycles. So this means that after 6 cycles and this last product essential oil is sent out, the subscription will be placed on hold. So this is great if you're doing anything like installments or any sort of payment plan, that you can set an expiration of those payments. Real quick, because I know we're running a little out of time here, but I'll just show you the custom next recurring. Everything is identical, so I'm not going to bring through here, but when you get down to this recurring schedule at the bottom, this is actually you defining the recurring schedule of this product. So this is great if you're doing a wine of the month club and you want to offer a different wine every single month, and for 12 months, every product that's going to fit for that month. So you would set up just a simple next cycle product, and I can do up to 13 here. But in this particular one, I can choose what I want to happen after this lavender oil. So in this case, I want to recur to this product and place it on hold, or I can choose to self-recur. And in this situation, it would get down to my lavender oil, and then that would just be its constant rebill. So I can do 3 custom cycles, but then keep recurring onto itself. Just real quick, because I think this really brings it all together for people, is once it's implemented and you'll attach that offer to a campaign, similar how you would with products, but instead you're attaching the offer to the campaign, you can set up that offer in here. And right now I'm placing an order for this offer. I decide, do I want the trial or don't I want the trial? So say, yeah, I'm going to offer a trial. I can select any product that is configured to that offer. So I'm going to offer the orange oil as my trial, quantity of 1. And then the billing model I'm going to use is every 30 days. So when I get to this tea tree oil, it will rebill onto itself every 30 days according to that self-recurring billing schedule. So this is very easy to set up, and it simplifies the product creation process a ton. So, I'm sure legacy guys will be very excited about this. And new people, it's very simplified process. Next one I want to get into, and I won't spend a ton of time on it because we've already done a webinar on this. But I kind of wanted to share, in case people weren't on that webinar a couple weeks ago, some of our new feature. It's called segments. So you'll find this under clients and fulfillment. Under marketing tools, you can select segments. And what this allows you to do is create groups or segments of customers that meet a similar quality set. So in typical autoresponder, you would have your geographic and your demographic stuff, but you don't have any of the behavioral stuff because Limelight holds all that data. And that's what makes our tool extremely powerful, is now I can break my customer groups by recency, frequency, and monetary. That's what those RFM measures are. So I want to know, how recent have you purchased from me? How frequent do you purchase? And how much money do you spend with me? And I can then target those people. So if we go on to the next slide here, and I'll just show you this, but this is kind of the stages of somebody purchasing from you. And we'll focus on that close and delight stage. So when you are, targeting prospects, you're targeting them with content that is specific to get them to convert to a sale. But if I'm targeting a customer that has already purchased from me, I might communicate to that person differently. I know they've spent money before. I know the products they've purchased before. Maybe I want to offer them a 20% coupon on a product that's similar to their purchasing behavior. And that's really where segments gets powerful, is you can really fine tune that content that you're reaching out to those customers. And just briefly, this is a segment that I've helped people set up. It's a most valuable customer segment. So basically, we're looking for people that have had successful orders, that have ordered a certain number of times, and that have spent a certain amount of money. Or somebody who has reached a particular subscription cycle, I might deem as a most valuable customer. So this is really great to set up. We're working on autoresponder integrations into this. So basically the goal of that is your segment list within Limelight will completely sync up with your autoresponder, and you can just drop people into whatever workflow you deem fit.
Yeah, so Greg, I actually have a question. Someone's wondering, what is the recommended number of segments or lists?
You know, it really depends on the size of your business. You know, it's tough to say. You don't want segments that are too small, because then you're spending marketing dollars on a very small base of people. But you don't want it too big either, because then you're not really specifying your market well enough. So I usually say depending on the size of the business again, between 5,000 to 7,000 is a good segment size for a customer base. Also depends on the type of ads you're running. If you're spending TV money running ads, you're going to want that to appeal to a much larger group of people rather than certain things. So it really depends on the marketing dollar. But I say you should easily be able to define your customers into 7 to 10 segments. There's no reason why you shouldn't. You can put less saturated segments as one group of people, and your more saturated segments as another group, and then further divide those. But you should have no problem getting 7 to 10 segments.
Good answer. So I think those are all the new platform features. Thank you, Greg. So next, we're actually going to hand it over to Logan, who is our system integrations expert, and he's going to cover all the new partnerships and integrations that we have with the Limelight platform.
All right, thanks, Val. So I have two things to talk about today, two new integrations, starting with FlexPay, a new partnership. They're a decline management solution that will allow for you to increase your decline salvage rate. And from the data that we've analyzed from our client base, it seems that the average is approximately a 25% rate of salvage, meaning chance of approval upon retrying a transaction. So with FlexPay, they use AI to essentially increase this average 25% to closer to 30 to 50%, which is pretty substantial. Now with that, they're using AI. You guys might already be familiar with some of our decline manager rules. You would no longer need to use those. FlexPay would replace those. So you may, once we get into a demo here, you might recognize the module, and I'll introduce you to how to plug FlexPay into it. So in addition to that, we also have Transaction Select. Some of you guys might already be familiar, but essentially this is a risk blocking tool that allows for you to reduce your risk before it becomes costly to your business. We already have an existing, what we're calling legacy algorithm, and we've introduced two new algorithms that function much better. So I'll be diving into a demo here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so starting with FlexPay, as I'd mentioned, some of you guys might already be familiar with our decline manager functionality under payments, decline management. And here within the profile itself, you do get a default global profile. So you can always apply the settings globally. But what I've done instead is I've created a more specific profile, and I'll show you exactly how FlexPay gets plugged in here. So ultimately, as I'd mentioned, you might be familiar with setting rules yourself. Manually setting a rule, for instance, a good rule might be by decline reason, insufficient funds. when you encounter insufficient funds from the bank, you might reschedule that for Friday, payday, with a higher chance of approval. Now, you don't have to worry about those rules anymore. If you use FlexPay, all you have to do is plug the FlexPay gateway profile directly into this dropdown, and you're good to go. So you basically don't have to worry about any of these rules anymore. And FlexPay has upwards of 60 to 70 different data points. And as you can see, with the rules available to you today, there's actually only 4 that we have available in our decline manager profile. So ultimately, their AI is able to make much better decisions than maybe you could through static rules by dynamic intuition on their side. Things, for instance, like decline salvage discount actually still work and are compatible. So if you choose to issue a decline salvage discount, you can still do so with FlexPay as well. So that's just a quick summary here, and I'll move on to transaction select. So within transaction select here, you would have to reach out to our client success team to have this activated. But once you do, you'll have a profile that might look like this, and you might already have one. And you may have actually already noticed that this old option has changed to legacy, and we've added 2 new options. So to get into the differences between these algorithms, the old legacy option was based mainly on counts. So for instance, 5 chargebacks. Our new algorithms are based on percentages and are much more accurate and much more powerful in reducing risk. So ultimately, the first option here is to prevent in-trial cancellations. This option is mainly intended, and let me go ahead and select it here. You'll see that we give you a quick description as well. This option would be intended for anyone that's running free trials. It would allow for you to reduce the chance of someone canceling in trial, obviously. And with that, you can obviously reduce you shouldn't be shipping out a product that you're not actually receiving payment for, and will reduce that from happening. As Chad had mentioned, I believe in the traffic source report, there is a big problem with in-trial cancellations, and this will help you mitigate that problem. The other option here is to prevent not only in-trial cancellations, but also chargebacks and refunds. And our data scientist recommends that if you're not concerned with chargebacks or refunds, we recommend that you use the in-trial cancellation option. If you are concerned with chargebacks and refunds, you can choose this option, but keep in mind that the accuracy of and efficacy of the in-trial part of the algorithm is not quite as strong as it is if you choose this option here. Now, with that, we also have block rate. And this slightly changed recently. It used to be what we were calling a tolerance threshold, but now we've changed this to block rate. I think it makes a little bit more sense and allows you to control the threshold of how much you're really trying to block here. We're trying to work towards making these options a little bit more transparent, so that you know better the difference between low, medium, and high, and whether or not you want to maybe make a change. But last thing I want to mention is just keep in mind the legacy algorithm is a lot less effective than these 2 new ones, so we would definitely recommend using one of these 2 new options instead.
Cool, and we actually have a question.
And that pretty much wraps up the demo of these 2 things as well.
Yeah, so there's questions on how do people...
So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Val here.
Yeah, so there was a question on how do people sign up for these features, FlexPay and transactions left.
Sorry, could you repeat that? We had a little audio issue here.
No worries. So how do people sign up for FlexPay or transactions left?
So you can reach out to our support team, and they can help you sign up. If you have a client success rep that you're working with, you can reach out to them directly as well, and we'll be glad to set it up for you.
Cool. Another question is actually for Greg. How do I see billing models?
Yeah, so you'll have to give us a call to enable that. Again, it's in a beta phase right now. So what we'll do is just turn it on for your system. So if you just call, you say you're interested, we'll give you a quick, 15, 20-minute training, and then we'll get it on for you. So definitely give us a call if you're interested in using it.
Cool. So don't see any other questions right now, but I do know that we have a few other new cool dashboards that Chad is going to walk us through. And again, keep your questions coming in the meantime. Yeah, so Chad, why don't you take it away with some of the other improved dashboards that we have? Hey, Chad, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. All right, so let me take you through a couple of these other dashboards here. So the first one I'll hit is this reserve predictions dashboard. The purpose of this is, again, considering this 30-second rule that we have, is that we want you to have a tool that you can use very easily to just predict how much money you have in reserves. So what it does, and this is going to take a bit to load. It's a pretty robust dashboard. But what you would do, let's get it to load here. While that's loading, I'm going to go to a different dashboard. I'll go to the new ones. So let's hit. Is there a particular dashboard you had in mind, Val, that you wanted to see?
Yeah, why don't we do subscription forecasting?
Okay.
Good one.
Let's go into that one.
We've had some questions about.
Okay, so the use case of this dashboard is just to allow you to predict what would happen if you enter specific scenarios into the inputs here. So what I did was I just opened up my filters, and now I'm going to say, okay, I want to see what would happen if I had a 65% rebill rate, and then maybe my cycle 2 is, let's say it's I normally get 38.8%, but maybe I'm shooting high. I want to get 45%, and then I'll put this one at 50%. So let's say I just want to look at that, and I'm not even really concerned about the reattempts. I want to hit run, and what this is doing is it's processing your request to create that kind of forecast. So it's going to tell me, I can already see here that with this prediction in mind, it's forecasting that I'd have 1,000 orders, and that would turn into $88,000 basically. And then you can see how that forecast plays out over time. So the purpose is really for forecasting, but you can use it to forecast revenue. You can forecast it for maybe staffing in your call center, forecast it for product inventory. There's a lot of use cases for this particular dashboard.
Actually, Chad, really quick, if you could go back, one use case, if you notice, with regards to FlexPay, the retry 1, 2, and 3+ metrics down there, that would be your normal decline salvage through the decline management profile. So when you use FlexPay, you would notice those percentages increasing substantially.
Right on. Right on. And I didn't mention it, Logan. Thanks for pointing that out. But on this dashboard, we provide benchmarks for you, so you don't have to really think. You don't have to recall it from memory. What was my rebill rate, or what was my retry to attempt? All these benchmarks are laid out for you for each specific client.
Hey, Chad,
So,
we have another question. Is there a way to add an expense profile across multiple campaigns or in a forecasting method?
Yeah, so with expense profiles, I'll deviate a bit here, but I think we have time. So if I wanted to go in and modify some of my expenses, I'd go into offers and campaigns, go to my expenses, and I hope I'm answering the question like they wanted, but um, I would go ahead and create an expense profile. Could create this, call it Chad. And now, see, I'm going to search for Chad. See, I'm just going to go into this guy here. So let's say I created video test. What I want to do, it's not loading. I'm trying to reload this page. There we go. Okay, so there's Chad. So now, if I want to, before I assign this campaigns, I want to add some assumptions, right? So I go into here, I'll add my assumptions. I can go in here and I can add, we have these default assumptions here that we can add. Let's say I want to add my CPA to this. You can add it. My CPA is $45. It's a flat rate. Hit save. And now that expense assumption is going to be a part of that profile called Chad. Likewise, I can do that for each one of my expense assumptions. So hopefully that answers the question here. Val, I don't know if you've got any feedback.
Yeah, if it doesn't, not yet. If it doesn't, Michael, just send another question over.
Yeah, so I see. Yeah, so
there's some feedback he asked, but does it show up on the forecast?
So on the forecast, it will not. So let me go back to that forecast. It's a good question. So the forecast really is focused on orders, not the expenses. But I see where you're going with that, Mike. I think that could be something that we integrate. We've got all the data in the database, so there's really no reason why we couldn't add that type of feature. So yeah, that's good feedback.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. Besides questions, if you have feedback, these webinars are, not just to show you guys all the new features, but also get feedback. We constantly want to keep improving our new features in the platform overall. So thanks, Mike, for the suggestion.
Well, if we've got time, Val, you let me know, but I can hit this reserve predictions dashboard.
Yeah, I think we have some time.
Okay. So this is another newer dashboard that we have that we've modified, made it more user friendly. What you see here is again, this is all about predicting what you have in your reserve accounts. A lot of people were giving us feedback that they used Excel, and that's fine too. And maybe you continue to use Excel, but maybe you start here and export the data however you see fit. This tool is just it's there to help you start to understand what kind of reserves you should expect in your account. So it's pretty straightforward. So I won't jump into a ton of detail unless I see some questions come in here. But what we're looking at is we see the reserve amount that is accrued. So if you've been with Limelight for since you've started your business, you're going to see an accrual amount of what you have in your reserve account. This is the sales demo, so you see it at 1.5 million. That'd be awesome, because eventually that's going to come out. But that's that's rarely going to be that high. And then you can see what's been actually released to me, and then what the algorithm that we've created is projecting to be released. And this algorithm is based on the inputs that you use when you enter in your various gateways. So it's important to really complete your gateway profiles and all the little nuances within our system. Like if you have cost of goods sold, that's really important to put that information into the system so that we can start to use that and feed that back to you in the form of dashboards and reports.
Yeah, we say that all the time. The analytics is only as good as the data you input into it. So we have a number of additional fields on the mid profiles, all the processing fees, transaction fees, chargeback fees. If you want the most accurate analytics, you really need to, start going through and getting all of those fields into place.
Well, and actually, not a question, not on analytics, but Logan, are there some best practices for using Transaction Select?
So it is fairly simple because it stands kind of in front of the order creation process in Limelight and will filter any high risk transactions out so as to not, incur any of the cost associated with processing the transaction, shipping the product out, potentially receiving a chargeback, so on and so forth. So it's fairly simple to configure, and ultimately, the most important part of the configuration process is making sure that you pick the right algorithm and thresholds. So that would be the most significant part of the configuration process. Once you have the profile configured, though, you would simply tie it into your campaign and let it do all the heavy lifting for you.
On average, we have another question. On average, what block rate does medium block rate setting deliver?
So that's a very good question. And that's what we're hoping to make a little bit more transparent. We do have the answer. I don't have it offhand right now, but we can certainly get back to you and let you know. And as I'd mentioned, we want to make that visibly transparent within the interface as well, so that you'll always know, and also keep in mind, these algorithms are going to keep changing. We're going to keep enhancing them. They're going to keep getting better. And some of these thresholds, we might add granularity to them. We've discussed breaking the 3-point high, medium, low into a 5-point configuration. But ultimately, we're still working to determine the best practices for configuration. I'm glad you mentioned, because one thing I'd forgotten is that the way that we monitor this service to ensure efficacy and figure out what to change in the algorithm is that in the background, we have a control group. And with that control group, we can gauge how effective we are in blocking transactions. Obviously, if we block a transaction, you won't ever know if it ever would have gotten charged back. But with a control group, we're able to monitor that in a way where you're still being protected, and we know exactly what to do next to make the algorithm better for you guys.
Cool. Thanks, Logan. So we have a few more minutes here, and we're going to leave the Q&A line open if anybody has any more questions. But I'd also like to just take this time to, we covered a lot of information. Just give a brief 1 to 2 second overview of what we covered. So that was with analytics, we did the traffic source and fulfillment dashboards, as well as reserve predictions and subscription forecasting. On the platform, Greg walked us through the new member API documentation, the new billing models feature, which again is in beta right now for existing clients. And if you want to sign up for that beta program, just call in or email. I sent a chat to everyone with the email address to sign up for that program. And then finally, Greg covered segments, which is that customer segmentation tool that we have now. And then Logan covered our new FlexPay partnership, which helps recover about 30% of your decline transactions, and Transaction Select, which is that intelligent risk mitigation tool to help block customers that essentially won't rebill. And I also wanted to, looks like we do have a question actually. Before I move on to, I also want to talk about what's coming and what you can stay tuned for in the next webinar. But Chad, we have a question. Which analytics reports are most heavily used by clients?
Yeah, so the most popular dashboard that's used is the order analysis. I didn't cover it today, but that dashboard really gives you a broad overview of what's going on with your business. And we have a plan to create more of these type of summary dashboards, so they're not so we deviate a little bit from this one dashboard, one topic type mentality. So that's the most popular.
And which would you recommend a client check most regularly?
Yeah, well, for me, I've run a lot of traffic in my career, and I've always watched that very closely. So our second most popular dashboard is the traffic source quality dashboard. I wouldn't go a day without looking at that dashboard. I also, because of what's happened to me in the past, I wouldn't go a day without looking at the fulfillment dashboard either. There's pretty cool stuff with customer service, with decline manager. I mean, all these dashboards have a really good use. Now, like bins, for example, I didn't do this when I was running my business, but I wish I did. There's some really good information in the bins dashboard. You can start to understand what bins are more profitable than other bins. You can create business rules to enact for a specific bin. Let's say you have a bin that has a high amount of chargebacks. And I've talked to some people doing this. They route those bins to when somebody enters an order with that bin, they'll route it to the call center and verify that it's a legit person. They might even, I've heard people even try to get a different kind of credit card. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with these dashboards. But I wouldn't go to answer the question, Val, specifically. I wouldn't go a day without looking at traffic source quality and fulfillment. I'd look at those every day. But when I talk to people, most of the super users of analytics, they're looking at the order analysis dashboard and they're looking at the traffic source quality dashboard every day.
Awesome. That's really helpful. And it's really helpful to hear kind of from your own experience by being in this business. So thanks, Chad. So the next last few minutes that we have here, I just wanted to let people know what they can stay tuned for in the next webinar. And some of those new features that are coming out. So from the analytics perspective, we have a new product dashboard, a mobile-friendly dashboard, and 2 new reports, Gateway Health and a coupon report. So stay tuned for those. From the platform side, the member API that Greg walked us through will actually be built into the WordPress plugin that we have. So you can kind of have that out-of-the-box member portal to just use, plug and chug. The billing models has already been mentioned a few times, but just want to make sure that everybody got it. We're currently running a beta program. So again, the chat, I chatted you guys the email that you can email or call in to sign up for the beta program. And then finally, from an integrations perspective, I know Logan covered FlexPay. We actually have a joint webinar with the FlexPay team coming. So they're obviously the experts on their business, so definitely stay tuned for that to join that webinar. And as Greg mentioned, segments will be integrated with, starting with MailChimp and ActiveCampaign on the email autoresponder side. And finally, a new payment gateway integration to add to the 150 plus that we already have, and that's Cygate. So that's all we have for today and all the things that you can stay tuned for, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.